Have you ever looked at a chart and just felt completely lost? Well, this video is about to change every single thing. So before there was indicators, entries, exit strategies, you need to understand one thing, and that's market structure. So this actually is the start of a new beginner trading series where I'll be teaching every single thing about market structure, risk management, psychology. So why is market structure is important? Because market structure help you understand, where the trend is going, help you understand not to trade against the trend, whether in an uptrend or a downtrend. So if you don't understand, think of it like this: market structure is like the grammar. So if you don't understand the grammar, then everything else it just becomes random. So this is right here is the foundation of market structure I'm about to get into. But before I get into the series, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and comment. All right, so how do we identify a uptrend, a downtrend? Well, there's three phases to market structure. There's uptrend, and there's a transition phase, and there's a downtrend. So what does an uptrend look like? Well, an uptrend look like it's making a low, then it's making a high, then it's making a lower high, and then a higher high. Then it's making a lower high, and then a higher high. And then it's making a lower high and then a higher high. So this is what a uptrend will look like. So this is the first phase of a uptrend. And then you have your transition phase. Your transition phase is when price is either at a breaking structure or it's just contraction. So you got price, pretty much price is not going higher. That's what the transition phase is, not going higher. So you might have something like this where price might look like this. Sometimes it might do this and then break, But other than that, it's just a phase where it's no longer going higher. So it might look like this, and then all of a sudden, right? And this is our contraction phase, our transition phase, right? And then after the transition phase, we have what? Our downtrend. Before I get into that, so you got price making our downtrend. So we have our downtrend. So you got price. So you have price breaking a low, so it's making a lower high, making a lower low, a lower high, and a lower low. All right, kind of put this over. So this is what a downtrend will look like. So you got price. Let's draw it, ticks it out. So again, so we have our low. So we have the start of that, which is our low. So we have the low, and then we have the high. All right, and then you have price making a lower high. So what do a lower high mean? A lower high means that it failed the previous low, and then it ended up breaking this high, making a higher high. All right, constantly making a lower high followed by a higher high. All right, and then this will be considered our transition phase, and then which means it's not going higher no more, and then all of a sudden it breaks this low right here. So then you have the high, and then you have the low. And then you have a lower high. What do a lower high mean? A lower high mean it failed the previous high. And then it broke this low, creating a lower low. Followed by all right, so These are our three phases of a trend. So we have our uptrend, we have our uptrend, we have our transition phase, and then we have our downtrend. These are the three main phases of a trend. And this does this on every single time frame. And this pattern repeats every single time. Right? So now, how do we take this and transition this into our chart? Well, let me show you. And by the way, I will be putting these notes. If you haven't screenshotted it, I'll be putting these notes in my community tab. All right. So let's look at this first. We can see here clear as day that price is constantly going up. So we know clear as day that this is a uptrend. So if we take this, right, and let's just kind of draw it out, right, we can see how price, let's change the color to gold. So we can see how, if we do this, so we can see how price is constantly what? So here's a low, here's a high. So this is our starting point, our low and our high. And then we have this nice pullback, right? Creating a lower high because why? It did not get below this low. Breaking this high, making a higher high. And then price gave us a nice pullback, right? Making a lower high, breaking this high, followed by a higher high. And then price pulled back again, right? Still fell in this low, making a higher high. And then price pulled back again, fell in this low, breaking this high, making a higher high. Until this cycle just continue repeating until it finally transition into a downtrend, right? So let's stop right here real quick so we can kind of see. You can see this right here. So if we draw this out, right, we can see how price created this low. So let's go back to this concept again. So price, price, this is the low of this. So this is the low, right? And then this is the high. This is the high right here. So this is the low, this is the high. And then this is a lower high because it did not break below this previous low. So it fell this low, right? Followed by a higher high. Constantly making what? A fell low, making a lower high because it's higher than the previous low. So it's a, well, actually, no, it's a higher low. I got that backwards. It's a higher low because this low is higher than the previous low. So it's a higher low making a high followed by a higher high. So we have a higher low. So you got my words backwards. But y'all know what I mean. A higher low followed by a higher high. So that's what an uptrend will look like. And then you can see here this nice transition phase right here. Now, even though it didn't went all the way down, it actually decided to go up one more time. You can still see here, okay, hey, how price still, that's still concepts. And this is the daily time frame, by the way, just for those who don't know. Daily time frame, so there's a lot of opportunity in that. So if you look here, this goes back to, okay, hey, the transition phase. Here our transition phase. We can see how price came down, right? Made a fail high, breaking this low, making a lower low. So sometimes it will look like this where it drops, drop down lower. And then you can see how price came back up, pulling down, and then it came up back up higher, and then all of a sudden, and sometimes it's gonna do this too, where it might test it. So it's too little advanced, but anyways, price comes down, retest, and then start going back lower. Fell high, and then making a lower low. Ultimately breaking this original low right here. And obviously price ended up eventually taking back up. But the whole concept is understand, okay, hey, look, this is a lot you can do right here. Understand that this is a nice transition phase because it's not gonna always look pretty. Sometimes you're gonna have a clean up trend, clean down trend, and sometimes it's gonna be a sloppy trend. You know, so I can't sit here and just show y'all all perfect examples. You know, I gotta show you the ugly too. Like for example, this is a perfect example of a downtrend where it's prices in this nice down momentum, right, going down, and then it was just choppy, consolidating. It consolidated all throughout here, and then it broke down one more time, retesting back where it broke out of that range. So it created a range, right, in this downtrend, and retest back to that range, and then went back lower. And then obviously you can see how we transitioned into this uptrend. So you can see how price was going, made its fail high go lower, made a lower high, then went lower, made a lower high and went lower. So that little range is right here. So this is a perfect example of that. Price went down, created a range, broke the range, still going lower, right? We pulled back into this where it broke out of because it still fell this high, making a lower low, right? And then all of a sudden, we got a nice pullback. Price fell this high, going back lower. It fell this high, going back lower. Not as clean, but you can still see it. And then you can see how price eventually transitioned into price pushing up, making it fell low, breaking this higher, breaking this neckline right here. So this was a neckline. So at that point, this is where you know, okay, hey, look, the trend is changing right here. At this point, this is where you know, okay, hey, look, everything is changing. We was clearly in this flow right here, in this nice downtrend, and all of a sudden it got broken. Now this is considered our transition phase. We was in a nice downtrend, and then all of a sudden it started going into a transition phase, and then price started going up, making this low, making this high, making a higher low. So let's mark this right here too. So we started off with this high right here, right? And then we start off with this low. And then what did price did? Price went down lower, right? Creating a lower low. Creating a lower low, right? While creating a lower high. Because why? Because price is lower than the previous high. So it's a lower high followed by a lower low, really when it finally fully broke here, and then continue going lower, and you can finally see how it was the end of this transition to where price eventually started going up higher and it breaking this neckline, and then boom. So I hope that it's clear to understand what. I hope after this video that you understand what is a uptrend, what is a transition phase, and what is a downtrend. So if you like and got value from this content, again, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the follow button for more breakdown. And I also do market daily breakdowns as well too. So and I will see you on the next series. So you don't want to miss out on the next video because I will be doing maybe probably posting once a week a new series. So I want y'all to really grasp it. I'm not say once a week because you can sit here and learn this, and then throughout the week you can sit here and start identifying. So my homework for y'all is to be able to identify a downtrend, transition phase, and an uptrend. Because if you cannot understand that, then it's gonna be hard to understand every single thing else. So it's gonna be a lot of stuff I'm gonna be covering over from, like I say, from market structure, from psychology, from risk management, to how to do your entries, from how to align your time frames bias to each other. So it's gonna be a lot, but I'm just taking my time and breaking it down for you so you can really fully grasp every single thing. So other than that, I will see you on the next series. Peace.